The late afternoon sun poured through the glass walls of the Crystal Heights Hotel, turning the marble floors into a mirror of gold and light. Guests in designer suits hurried by, dragging sleek luggage. Behind the counter, Adrian Costa, the hotel manager, adjusted his tie and flashed a rehearsed smile at a wealthy-looking couple. Then the glass doors opened. A man in simple clothes stepped inside, Lucas Pereira. His boots were dusty, his jacket slightly worn, and his leather suitcase looked older than most guests' cars. He greeted the receptionist politely, asking about room availability. Adrian didn't hide his disdain. He gave Lucas a quick, dismissive glance, the kind reserved for people who didn't belong in places like this. "Sir, this is a luxury establishment," Adrian said, emphasizing the word luxury, as if it might scare the stranger away. Lucas only smiled, calm and patient. "I understand. I'd like a room for 2 nights." The receptionist looked uncertain, but Adrian stepped forward with a smirk. "Tell you what," he said mockingly. "If you can pay 800 Brazilian reals in cash right now for the cheapest room, I'll give you the presidential suite for free. But before we dive into what happens next, I'd love to know, where are you tuning in from today? Drop your country in the comment below and please like the video. Thank you. Now let's continue." The lobby went silent. A few guests turned their heads. It was a cruel joke, but Lucas didn't flinch. "Is that a promise?" he asked softly. Adrian crossed his arms, amused. "Absolutely." Without another word, Lucas opened his suitcase and calmly began counting neat stacks of bills, one by one, until the full amount, 800 Brazilian reals, lay on the counter. The crowd froze. Adrian's smirk faltered. The simple man had just called his bluff. The atmosphere in the lobby changed instantly. What started as laughter now felt like tension thick enough to touch. The receptionist's eyes darted between Adrian and Lucas, unsure what to do. Adrian cleared his throat, trying to save face. "Well, that was unexpected," he said awkwardly. Lucas smiled kindly. "I believe that makes me eligible for the suite, doesn't it?" Before Adrian could answer, the hotel's financial advisor, Dr. Enrique Faria, entered with Marcos, a longtime business partner. They stopped mid-conversation when they saw the crowd. "What's going on here?" Marcos asked. Adrian forced a nervous laugh. Just a misunderstanding. This gentleman thought. "He's our guest," Lucas interrupted calmly. "We made an agreement." There was something in Lucas's tone, measured, confident, that silenced everyone. Even those who had been smirking moments ago straightened up, sensing something was off. Dr. Enrique studied Lucas's face and suddenly froze. His brow furrowed as if he were trying to remember something. "Wait a second, aren't you?" Before he could finish, Adrian blurted out. "He's nobody. Just someone pretending he can afford a suite." That sentence landed like a slap in the air. The entire staff fell silent. Lucas didn't react. Instead, he looked around the room slowly, at the chandeliers, the marble counters, the staff, then back at Adrian. "I see," he said quietly. "Then let's finish this properly." He placed the cash on the counter again. "I've paid in full. Please honor your word." No one moved. The arrogance that filled the room minutes ago had evaporated, replaced by curiosity, and the first signs of fear. Adrian's fingers twitched nervously. He looked trapped, humiliated in front of both guests and staff. Then, as if grasping for control, he sneered. "Sir, if you truly have that kind of money, why don't you just buy your own hotel?" Lucas gave a small smile. "Interesting idea," he replied. Before anyone could speak, the main doors opened again. A tall man in a dark suit entered. Dr. Enrique, now fully recognizing the guest. His face went pale. "Lucas Pereira," he said, astonished. "From the São Paulo Investment Group." Every eye turned toward him. The name meant nothing to Adrian, but the reaction from Dr. Enrique and Marcos said it all. Marcos's mouth dropped. "Lucas Pereira." The one who bought half the properties in last year's auction. Adrian blinked rapidly, realizing his mistake too late. Lucas remained perfectly calm. "I see some of you remember me," he said politely. "But I'm not here as an investor today. I'm just a guest." The air thickened with whispers. The man Adrian had mocked wasn't a traveler. He was a millionaire investor known for acquiring entire estates. Adrian's mouth went dry. He swallowed hard. I didn't realize." Lucas stopped him with a raised hand. "No need to explain. You judged me by appearances. It happens." His tone was kind, but each word carried quiet authority. The silence was heavy. Something important was coming. Lucas's composure was too deliberate. His calm too perfect. The staff sensed it. The story wasn't over. The real surprise was still hidden in his suitcase. Without hurry, Lucas turned to his luggage, unclasped the locks, and drew out a brown leather folder. Every movement was deliberate, and the room grew so silent that even the ticking clock behind the counter could be heard. He placed the folder on the counter and spoke gently. "You were right about one thing, Mr. Adrian. I should have introduced myself properly." Adrian's hands trembled slightly. What do you mean?" Lucas opened the folder and took out a document with embossed seals that shimmered under the lobby lights. He handed it to Adrian. "Please read this aloud." Adrian's throat tightened. His fingers shook so violently that the paper rustled like dry leaves. I can't," he whispered. Dr. Enrique stepped forward. "Allow me." He adjusted his glasses and began to read. Each word seemed to echo off the marble walls. Certificate of ownership. Issued by the Registry of Real Estate of São Paulo. Property. Crystal Heights Hotel, including all adjacent land. The crowd leaned closer. "Registered owner," he continued, pausing dramatically. "Lucas Pereira da Silva." The words exploded like thunder. Gasps, murmurs, disbelief. The lobby erupted. Guests covered their mouths. Staff froze. One woman actually dropped her phone. Adrian took a step back, his face draining of color. You own the hotel." Lucas met his eyes calmly. "For the last 3 years." It was like the ground had vanished beneath Adrian's feet. He had insulted, mocked, and challenged the man who owned the entire building. His employer, his superior, his judge. The revelation rippled through the lobby like an electric storm. People whispered, exchanged stunned looks, even clapped hands to their mouths. The janitor, the bellboys, the guests. Everyone stared at Lucas as if seeing him for the first time. Dr. Enrique's jaw dropped. "Lucas, you never mentioned buying the hotel." Lucas shrugged. "I prefer to keep my urban investments separate. I wanted to see how my staff handled clients when they didn't know who was watching." The line hit Adrian like a dagger. His head bowed slightly as realization set in. Every month, he had sent performance reports, exaggerated and self-congratulatory, to the hotel's anonymous owner. That owner had been standing right in front of him all along. Lucas continued. "And those glowing reports you sent me, Adrian, very creative. I almost believed them." The crowd chuckled quietly, unable to hide their amusement. Adrian's humiliation was complete. Finally Lucas sighed. "You see, Adrian, leadership isn't about power. It's about respect. And respect must be earned, not demanded." Adrian's voice cracked. "Please, Mr. Pereira. I didn't know." Lucas studied him for a long moment. "No, you didn't. But now you do." Everyone held their breath. The next words would decide Adrian's fate. Would he be fired, destroyed, or forgiven? Lucas walked around the counter, his footsteps echoing softly. He stopped directly in front of Adrian. His eyes were calm, but there was no anger in them, only conviction. "Adrian," he began slowly, "if I dismissed you today, it would solve nothing. You'd leave angry, not wiser. You'd blame luck, not your own choices." Adrian lowered his head, tears of shame forming in his eyes. "So here's what will happen," Lucas continued. "You'll be transferred to my farm in Uberaba. You'll work there as an administrative assistant under my caretaker, Mr. Joao. He's 70 years old and understands more about dignity and hard work than most executives I know. You'll learn from him for a year." The crowd murmured in surprise. It wasn't punishment, it was redemption. Adrian nodded quickly, barely holding back tears. "Yes, sir. I'll do it. Thank you for not firing me." Lucas placed a hand on his shoulder. "Everyone deserves one chance to change. What you do with it defines who you are." He then turned to Camila, the young receptionist who had tried to be polite through the chaos. "Camila, starting today, you'll act as interim manager. I noticed how you handled yourself. That's the kind of grace this hotel needs." Camila gasped, tears welling in her eyes. "Thank you, sir. I won't disappoint you." "I know you won't," Lucas said warmly. "And your first task? Create a policy that ensures every guest is treated equally, no matter how they look." Applause began softly, then grew louder until the entire lobby was clapping. The noise swelled. Guests, employees, even bystanders outside the glass doors joined in. Some smiled, others wiped away tears. For the first time, the hotel felt human again. Lucas turned to Dr. Enrique and Marcos. "Gentlemen, shall we? We've got an auction to prepare for tomorrow." Dr. Enrique grinned. "Lucas, you've outdone yourself again." Lucas placed his hat back on his head, picked up his suitcase, and began walking toward the elevator. As he passed the front desk, he paused and handed the 800 Brazilian reals back to Camila. "Use this," he said, "to organize staff training on exceptional customer service. I want this to be the last time someone is judged by appearances." Camila nodded firmly. "It will be, sir." As the elevator doors slid open, Lucas looked back one last time. Adrian stood silently, humbled but grateful. The applause continued until Lucas disappeared behind the closing doors. Outside, the evening light spilled into the lobby like a blessing. People kept talking about what they had just witnessed, not just justice but wisdom. Lucas Pereira had turned humiliation into a lesson, anger into compassion, and power into humility. That day, everyone at the Crystal Heights learned something unforgettable. True wealth isn't measured by money, but by how you treat those who owe you nothing. And as the crowd slowly dispersed, one question lingered in the air. How many times had they judged someone by appearance, and how many chances had they missed to see true greatness? If this story moved you, if Lucas Pereira's calm justice and powerful lesson made you stop and think, then don't leave without hitting that subscribe button right now. Every story here reminds us that true power isn't about money or status. It's about how we treat people when no one's watching. So, join our community of dreamers, thinkers, and storytellers who believe in kindness, humility, and second chances. Speech Balloon, tell us in the comments. Have you ever been judged by your appearance? Or have you ever misjudged someone before knowing their story? Your answer might inspire someone else today.